Welcome back everyone to Grizzly Reviews. Today I'm bringing you a review for Child's Play. With Chucky Season 3 starting today, October 4th, I wanted to be able to review the original Child's Play to mark the occasion. And if I have enough time, I'm gonna try to review each episode of Chucky Season 3. I make no promises on that. I am really excited for it though. I just have a very busy month ahead of me. If you can't tell by my Spirit Halloween videos I've made or just like the things behind me, I'm a little bit obsessed with Chucky. I love the Chucky franchise. It's possibly my second favorite horror franchise after Scream. So I hold these movies very near and dear to my heart. I'm just so excited to talk about these movies. So let's jump into this review. I will be spoiling all of Child's Play in this video, so if you haven't seen it yet, you really need to. So go watch Child's Play. A struggling single mother unknowingly gives her son a doll imbued with a serial killer's consciousness. What a short and simple synopsis of this entire movie. Yeah, that pretty much covers it entirely. The 1988 Child's Play is fantastic. I love this movie a lot. It's something I make sure to watch every Halloween season because I just enjoy it so much. It's still scary to me even now, which if something you can rewatch over and over again still scares you, that means the movie is extremely effective and is exceptionally well made. I enjoy this movie from the very beginning. The opening scene with Detective Mike chasing down Charles Lee Ray is so intense. The action is great. It just puts you into such a fast pace for this movie. Surprisingly, Child's Play is a very action-heavy horror film. There are a couple sequences that are very action-y in this film. The beginning opening scene, and then when Chucky is trying to kill Mike in his car later in the movie. Brad Dourif is the actor who plays Charles Lee Ray and voices Chucky. And the beginning of this movie really shows off his acting chops. I love his delivery of no matter what. Hold on, I kind of want to look it up how he does it.
I'm gonna get you, and I'm gonna get Eddie, no matter what.
No matter what. Did I do it? I don't know. Compare. Let me know in the comments below how I did. I'm not an impressionist, I promise. I just really love how he delivers that line. So the Child's Play franchise is imbued with voodoo all over the place because of this first movie. You have to keep the continuity of how these souls can transfer with the voodoo. I know Don Mancini has talked about him wishing it wasn't so voodoo heavy. But I mean, the opening voodoo scene of Charles Lee Ray putting his soul into the good guy doll is very high drama. I love how constant the shots switch in this scene. Because you don't know what's happening, it makes it very discombobulating to just see all of these shots. Every possible shot is happening in this scene, and then it ends with a pretty great lightning explosion that blows up this toy store. And little details of you switching from the good guy doll that Charles just put himself into to a box with good guy wrapping paper on it. You just assume that that's the box that Chucky is gonna be in. And it's a great fake out because little Andy is assuming there's a good guy doll in that box. It has pretty much the same dimensions as a good guy doll box. And we assume that's there, so we're connecting with the character of Andy, but also anticipating that there's a killer doll in there too. Little Alex Vincent as Andy Barkley is just the most adorable child actor you've ever seen. He just has so many good line deliveries for a little kid when he's watching the Good Guy Doll show and he's like, I saw this one already. It's just so funny.
I saw this one.
And the movie is so smart in being able to let the audience know how a good guy doll is supposed to work, with the good guy mascot telling us how if you talk to the doll, it talks back to you. It's great setup, especially since one of the protagonists of this movie is a little kid. You have to make that information not only be suitable for your general audience, but for the little kid that's watching it inside the movie itself. I kind of hope Halloween Horror Nights has someone walking around in that good guy doll mascot costume. I think it's really funny, and great production design of setting up the entire world of the good guys. There's a TV show, the clothes, the merchandise, the commercials itself, everything surrounding the good guy brand is fantastic. So it is Andy Barclay's birthday. He's woken up super early. He's made breakfast in a very childlike way. He goes to wake up his mother Karen in bed, and this is a really sweet introduction for Karen Barclay. I like how sweet of a mother she is. She's very stern with her kid, but also is like, he's just a kid, he's allowed to make mistakes. But when situations get more serious later on in the movie, she flips that switch and becomes the mother that she needs to be. Karen Barclay is a top-tier horror mother. I'm just gonna say it now. So I mentioned the fake out with the box earlier, and I like how it sets up once we have opened the box and we see that it's just jeans inside there, the money problems that the Barclay family is going through. The fact that Karen got a pair of jeans that are a little bit too big, but she can sew them up and so he can grow into them and so they last a lot longer. It's just really sad to just see this family in a position like that. So you really connect with both of these characters from the get-go. And the work in setting up that money problems, adding the disappointment of Andy not getting an actual good guy doll, even though he's been saying he's want one, but Karen didn't know they were coming out soon enough to be able to save up for it. It's really understandable why she would just get a good guy doll sold in the back alley of the mall she works at. I think it's very funny how soon Andy opens up this box from receiving it from his mom, running into the living room, the camera following Karen, going into the living room, and Chucky is already out of the box. This little boy has like superhuman strength. It's crazy. I love it. So if you watch the Chucky TV show, something they do constantly in that show are split field diopter shots. And rewatching this movie to make this review, I noticed that they do one in this movie. So it works as a whole that this is something that they do in their shot structure from the beginning of the franchise. Child's Play is shot so well. The cinematography is outstanding. There's just something about a late 80s movie I really like looking at. Any of your horror classics are all shot so well. You really feel for Andy the entire time this movie because he is pleading with these people that he knows what's going on. He's able to recognize the flower on Chucky's shoes and understand that that means Chucky was the one that scared Aunt Maggie into falling out the window. Which the beginning of that scene is so smart. This movie is genius. Truly. After Andy is put to bed, there's a bit of time that has passed. So you start with an exterior shot of showing the building that they're in, but from an angle to show how far Aunt Maggie is about to fall down. It's such good shot composition and editing. And then in this scene, you get the first instance of Chucky's POV, which quite possibly might be my favorite serial slasher killer POV in any of these franchises. Mostly because you're at such a lower angle, it just gives it so much difference. I like the Predator, how that looks, and you seeing all the heat signatures of people. Michael doesn't really have a POV, but I like when he steps into the frame and he's just like, his shoulder is into it. That's kind of terrifying. It's really sad to see Maggie talking to Karen over the phone, and then like not even a minute later, she's falling out the window. It's super sad. And you don't see Chucky do this kill, so there is a bit of mystery as to who actually did it. They're waiting to show you the Chucky doll in this movie, and I really appreciate them doing that because that means this second half of the movie is that much scarier once he actually becomes like a talking doll. And it's fucking crazy, we're still in Andy's birthday. The timeline for this movie is insane. It takes place over 3 or 4 days, and a lot happens in those 4 days too. I really appreciate the timeline of this movie. It's such a small thing to point out, but I like the pace and flow of this movie a lot. The scene after the police clear out with Andy and Karen talking about like Chucky being a doll or not being a doll is really great stuff. I feel for both of these characters. Karen is basically pleading with her kid, stop making up stories, it's just a doll. And then he says such a mean thing about Aunt Maggie. It makes you think, okay, what would I do if I was a parent and I was dealing with a kid like this? You feel for Karen. It's just such great acting between these two people. Karen Barkley is portrayed by Catherine Hicks. I wish she got to do more in this franchise. I hope in the Chucky series maybe Karen comes back. That'd be pretty cool. If you haven't seen Child's Play 2, they say that Karen got put into a mental institution at the beginning of it to explain why Andy is now in the foster system. That is such a tragic place for this character to end because this movie ends kind of happy, you know? They defeat Chucky. So her having to be put in an institution because no one believes her or any of the detectives that it was a doll that did all the killing. It just sucks. I hope that character gets a happier ending. I probably have a soft spot for this movie as well because it takes place in Chicago. I love the Chicago backdrop of this movie. I wish more films were put in Chicago. I know the Candyman movies, the ones that are good at least, take place in Chicago. But outside of that, I really don't know what else takes place in Chicago. The Relic does, but it's not supposed to be. The book takes place in New York City, so I kind of count this, but I kind of don't. And then, yeah, I don't have any other clue of a horror movie that takes place in Chicago. So if you know any, please let me know down below. And this first movie is crazy to rewatch, knowing the history of Charles Lee Ray and Eddie Caputo after you've watched Chucky season 1, and knowing how big of a betrayal it is when Eddie leaves Charles at the beginning of this movie because they have had a shared history together. There's a lot of backstabbing and betrayal in the Chucky franchise, especially with Tiffany. So I'm glad it starts from the very beginning of the franchise. The explosion that kills Eddie Caputo is pretty sick. It just adds some nice destruction to this movie and showing the impact of what a little tiny doll can do. Speaking of betrayal, when Andy is at the police station after the building exploded and Chucky refuses to talk, the betrayal you feel in his voice is so heartbreaking. He knows this doll can talk, but it's refusing to talk and no one believes him about it. But then Karen takes the doll home and sees that Chucky is actually alive. This scene is so awesome. The setup with the batteries, her going over to pick the doll up, the tension and pace of this scene. I love it so much. And then you get the first real instance of seeing Chucky as Chucky. It's terrifying. When Chucky is scary, he really is scary. And I like that the scene ends with Karen chasing Chucky instead of the victim getting chased by the killer. It's a great twist on a chase scene, which this one is great. Her having to go down all the stairs as the elevator goes down. It's really great stuff. So one thing I don't think needed to be in this movie is the possible sexual assault of Karen by all the financially disadvantaged people. I don't think it needed to go that far to sexual assault. I think they could have just been, maybe she had like a necklace that her mother gave her that's it's expensive looking and could have been passed down, but she didn't want to get rid of it. That would have been maybe a better approach to get Mike be the savior there instead of sexual assault. I don't like that. It's not something I want Karen to go through to be able to help her son. I don't like it. So I mentioned this earlier, but the scene where Chucky is trying to kill Mike, I love it a lot. The action of the car going through the streets of Chicago is very tense. He could die at any moment, not even at the behest of Chucky. Like if he just hits another car, runs into a building, he's gonna die. But then it's confusing when he meets Karen back up at Charles Lee Ray's apartment why he doesn't say, Chucky just tried to kill me, I fully believe you now. He just gets there and he's like, oh, I went and got the folder on Charles Lee Ray. And then they move on. Like, just mention I almost died and I completely believe you now. He never says, Karen, I believe you. And I kind of wish he did. So the scene where we meet John, also known as Dr. Death, I think, is one of the most impressive parts of the puppetry for the Chucky doll. I love how he moves. I love the facial structure and how he talks. It's just great stuff. And we get to have a scene with Charles actually talking with someone in a full conversation. And it's kind of graphic how Chucky just uses a voodoo doll to kind of kill this man. And I love the cut after when John dies, after telling Mike and Karen that Chucky's going after Andy. He says, you have to go through the heart, and then it cuts to where Andy is. It's just really good editing. The stuff at the mental hospital, I like it. That one doctor's death is pretty cool. It's nice to see like Chucky running around. And then we get into the third act of this movie, which is outstanding. The setup of Chucky reaching Andy and going through the chimney while Andy has locked the door is great because that means that Mike and Karen have an even harder time trying to get in when they show up. The Ade Due Dembala chant, I love it. I've memorized it. And Anthony hates it, so I can't say it around him, but Ade Due Dembala, give me the power, I beg of you. It's just good stuff. And this third act is genuinely terrifying. The jump scare at the end with melted Chucky and his arm and his leg is great. I love how when Chucky gets hit with a bullet or something and his body just flies back in this movie. It's just gravity working the way gravity should, and it's very funny to me. Chucky's surprise scare is also genuinely hilarious, that he would just say surprise to get someone. And I love when Andy says, this is the end, friend, before he burns Chucky. It's very funny. It's a great gotcha moment. The fire stunt of Chucky walking across the living room is outstanding as well. You also hear Charles screaming as he burns alive, which is pretty terrifying. And then you get burned Chucky, which is absolutely terrifying in this movie. The scariest Chucky of the entire film is when he's melted down, but still moving his face like it moves normally. The bathroom door knife stuff with Karen is genuinely terrifying. The entire third act just doesn't let up, and it's very scary. The jump scare when Jack shows up and Chucky pops out of the vent is the one that got me rewatching this movie. It's just a really fun, thrilling, scary third act of a movie that I just enjoy so much. I don't love how this movie ends, though. It just ends on a really, I don't love horror movies that just end after the villain is killed. I kind of wish you got a little bit more of what's going to happen with these characters now that it's over. You kind of hear that no one's going to believe them about the doll, but just let me know that they're okay a little bit more than just them walking out of the door and then a really awkward freeze frame with Andy. Child's Play, just in general, is one of my favorite horror movies and one of my favorite horror franchises of all time. I love this movie from beginning to end. There's a couple things that don't hold up. The possible sexual assault stuff at the very end of the movie don't work for me. But outside of that, this movie has a rocking pace at 1 hour and 27 minutes. The music playing during the end credits is fucking fantastic. I could just listen to that music on repeat for an hour or two. It's that good. It just makes you think this movie is even better than it already is because of how awesome the ending music is. I don't know what else to say. I just really enjoyed Child's Play a lot. I'm going to give the 1998 Child's Play a 9 out of 10. It's a really fucking good movie. I highly recommend checking out Child's Play right now. Go do it. So this October, I plan on reviewing a lot of movies. A24 is putting out one of their movies every Wednesday this month. So the first one will be The Witch. That's the next movie I'm going to review. That review will be out tomorrow, Thursday, and then this Friday with The Exorcist Believer coming out, I'm gonna have a review for the original Exorcist. After that, we'll just see how it goes, but keep an eye out for more videos of mine. Hit that subscribe button so you know when those videos get put out. Let me know in the comments down below what you think about Child's Play. Do you like it? Do you hate it? What's your favorite part about this movie? And please like this video if you did enjoy it as well. And I will catch you all in the next video. Bye-bye!